Hi everyone. Let's see a detailed summary of the play Importance of Being Earnest. There are three acts, and Act 1, Scene 1 opens in Algernon Moncrief's sophisticated flat in London, where he orders his butler Lane to prepare cucumber sandwiches for his aunt Lady Bracknell. There enters Ernest Worthing, whose original name is Jack Worthing, but pretends to be Ernest when he reaches London from the country. He reveals to Algie that the purpose of his visit is to propose Gwendolen Fairfax, the daughter of Lady Bracknell, who is the cousin of Algernon Moncrief. Algie ridicules the notion of marriage, vowing he will never marry. And Algernon asks Jack who is Cecily because he has seen the inscription on Jack's cigarette case, and the inscription is like, "From little Cecily, with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack." Jack finally reveals the fact that his name is Ernest in the town and Jack in country. Jack explained that he was adopted by Thomas Cadew, and Cadew willed him to be the guardian of his granddaughter Cecily. She is now living in the country under the guidance of her governess, Miss Prism. Jack is now compelled to maintain a high level of morality as he is a role model for the people there. So he invented a fictional mischievous younger brother named Ernest who lives in Albany. To resolve the problems of Ernest, he often comes to the town, and in the town he disguises himself as Ernest as an escape from the moral restrictions in the country. At this point, Algernon confesses that he has created an invalid friend in the countryside named Burnbury for escaping from the town and his social commitments. There ends the scene 1. And in scene 2, Lady Bracknell enters with her daughter Gwendolen Fairfax. Algernon informs her about his inconvenience to attend the dinner party she arranged that night because Burnbury is ill and he wants to go and attend Burnbury. He goes with her into the music room. Meanwhile, Jack opens up his feelings to Gwendolen and she happily accepts the proposal because she has always wanted to marry someone with the name Ernest. When Jack asks her if his name were not Ernest, then she said she would not have accepted the proposal. Lady Bracknell enters and Gwendolen informs her of the engagement. Lady Bracknell is not that happy and she asks Gwendolen to wait outside. When she left, Lady Bracknell interrogated Jack, asking about his habits, income, background, and so on. Jack reveals the fact that he is an orphan found in a handbag in the cloakroom of Victoria Station. Disappointed Lady Bracknell disagrees the matrimonial proposal. After her departure, Algernon enters and Jack told everything. Later, he told him that he is going to kill off his fictional brother Ernest later in that week because Cecily is showing some kind of attraction towards this non existing brother. Algernon shows an interest in meeting Cecily, but Jack does not encourage it. Gwendolen re enters and shares her anxieties regarding her mother's disapproval, and Jack consoles her. She collects Jack's address in the country and promises him to write every day when he returns to the countryside. Algernon is planning for Burnburying the next day, and Jack warns him that Burnbury will only get him in trouble. So there ends the Act 1, which consists only two scenes. And coming to the Act 2, the first scene. The scene opens at Jack's country house. Miss Prism and Cecily discuss the serious nature of Jack and concludes it might be due to the anxiety over his troublesome brother. When Miss Prism and Dr. Chasuble go for a walk, there enters Algernon disguised as Ernest Worthing, the mischievous fictional brother created by Jack Worthing. Cecily is very much excited to meet him and they engage in a long conversation. Jack enters the garden in black dress, mourning the death of his brother, and informs Miss Prism the death news. Dr. Chasuble agrees to discuss it in the sermon next Sunday, and Jack asks him if he would christen him this afternoon with the name Ernest. He accepts and leaves. While Cecily comes to the garden, she tells that his brother Ernest is in the dining room and accuses Jack for disowning his brother because Jack is telling like he is already dead. And she brings Algernon to the garden. When Jack refuses to shake hand, Cecily supports Ernest by saying that he has an invalid friend called Burnbury, and someone who takes care of an invalid must have some good in him. So she is insisting Jack to forgive his brother and be good to him. Under the pressure of Cecily, Jack shakes hand with Algie and everyone leaves except them. Jack asks Algie to return to town when he reveals his interest in Cecily. There ends the first scene, and the second scene in Act 2. When Cecily enters the garden to water the flowers, Algie tells her that Jack is forcing him to leave, but Cecily insists him to stay back. At this point, Algie proposes her, but to his surprise, Cecily says that they have already been engaged since she heard about Ernest for the first time. The interest emerged exclusively out of the name Ernest. She shows him a box of letters exchanged by the couples. She wrote to herself as if written by Ernest, that is Jack's brother. Just like Gwendolen, she said him the name evokes absolute confidence. This is the very same words Gwendolen also said when Jack proposed to him in the guise of Ernest. When Algie asked whether she would accept him if his name is not Ernest, she was doubtful. Algernon was hurried to arrange a meeting with Chasuble to christen him with the name Ernest. When Algie leaves, Gwendolen enters in search of Jack. To her knowledge, who is Ernest, she is in search of Jack. In his absence, Cecily receives her, and in their conversation, Cecily reveals that she is not Ernest's ward, but she is Jack's ward, and she is engaged to Ernest Worthing. Gwendolen gets shocked on this and claims that she is the one who got engaged to Ernest in the previous day in London. The two women launch full-blown verbal attacks. Jack enters. Gwendolen feels relaxed on the news that it is not Cecily's Ernest, but Cecily also reveals the fact that it is not Ernest but her uncle Jack. At this moment, Algernon enters. When Cecily introduces Algie to be Ernest, the brother of Jack, Gwendolen proclaims it is not Ernest but Algernon Moncrief, her cousin. Both the women get shocked and ask Jack for a clarification. Jack finally confesses that they both do not possess the name Ernest and he does not even have a brother. Gwendolen and Cecily hold their hands and leave to the house. Jack accuses Algie and Algie does accuse Jack. They reveal their plan to get christened that evening and fights again. Jack asks Algie to leave but he denies. There ends the second act. And in Act 3, there is only one scene, and that is the concluding scene. Algernon and Jack approach Cecily and Gwendolen for a compromise talk and explain everything. The women get reconciled with their lovers when they came to know know about the arrangements for rechristening. Lady Bracknell enters. When Gwendolen informs her of her engagement with Jack, she rejects it. Algernon informs her that Burnbury died that afternoon and also introduces Cecily as his fiancée. Lady Bracknell enquires the background of Cecily and discovers Cecily has a large personal fortune. She gives an immediate consent for the match. At that moment, she is not much concerned about the background of Cicely. The financial backup is very much enough for her. Jack is now not ready to give the consent as he is not confident on Algernon. He reveals that Cicely is under his guardianship until she turns 35. Cicely feels impossible to wait this long to be married. And Jack makes a deal that if Lady Bracknell accepts the match of Jack and Gwendolen, then he will consent to Cicely's marriage with Algernon. Lady Bracknell refuses and gets ready to leave with Gwendolen Fairfax. Then Chasuble enters there and announces that the preparations are done for their christenings. Jack informs him that there is no need for any such functions. And when Chasuble tells he is leaving as Miss Prism is waiting for him, Lady Bracknell identifies the name Miss Prism and demands to see her because she said like she knows someone with the name Miss Prism and she intensely want to meet that particular person with the name Miss Prism. Miss Prism goes pale when she meets Lady Bracknell, and Lady Bracknell accuses her of kidnapping a baby boy from her house 28 years ago. On Jack's interrogation, Miss Prism accepts that she accidentally misplaced the baby in a handbag on the Brighton railway lane. Jack gets excited and brings a handbag in which he was found. Miss Prism identifies the bag as her own. Everyone comes to know that Jack is the lost baby. Lady Bracknell informs that Jack is her sister's son and Algernon's elder brother. They also come to know that Jack is placed after the name of his father, that is Ernest John Moncrief. So, Jack's original name is Ernest. Everything gets settled smoothly and everyone is happy. Whatever lies Jack told in his life comes true now. Because his name is Ernest and he got a younger brother who is mischievous in nature, that is Algernon. He realized the vital importance of being earnest. So that is the story in a nutshell. The play consists of 3 acts with 5 scenes, and this is the story. Now, coming to the various themes discussed in this particular play. One is Victorian morals. The struggle of various characters to maintain the moral codes form the thrust of the play. The use of social lie is pervasive and sometimes carried to a great length. Algernon's Bunburying and Jack's invention of the rakish brother are examples of the strategies adopted by people to escape from the social strictures. Another theme is cultural clash because the actions take place in London city as well as the pastoral country of Hertfordshire. These two geographical regions symbolize contrasting approaches towards life. The play portrays the corruption of urban living versus the simple bucolic pleasures of the rural farm life. In Jack's words, Jack says, when one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in country, one amuses other people. He finds this excessively boring. There are some different characters, of course. While Jack is sedate in the country and festive in the town, Cecily is far from the innocent she appears. Because her attitude towards her affair with Algernon shows her to be as competent in romance as any city woman. Another important theme discussed in this particular play is quest for freedom. The characters struggle to remain free of the restrictions of Victorian convention. When Jack disguises himself and leaves for the town, Algernon invents an invalid friend named Bunbury because Algernon uses this visit to Bunbury whenever he wants to escape from any kind of social commitment. And Algernon describes this kind of an escape, this pretext, as Bunburying, which represents deception and escapism. Language and meaning are to be considered because which are very vital in his play, in Oscar Wilde's play. Many of the characters in the play are obsessed over the signifier. You must be familiar with the signifier and the signified. Both Gwendolen and Cecily desire to get married with a person named Ernest, and their focus is exclusively on the name, not with the original character of that person. Cecily, even before meeting Ernest, started loving him and wrote imaginary letters, assuming he may be writing. He may behave earnestly, he may be very good, very gentle. Likewise, she is assuming and she is writing letters from his side and from her own side. The reason is just his name is Ernest. The importance is given to the signifier, not to the signified. Another important theme is hollowness of love. Wilde satirizes the romantic and sentimental love by having the women fall in love with someone of his name rather than his personal attributes. He brings the parody of romantic love in the relationship between Algernon and Cecily because she has fallen in love with him and, in fact, charted their entire relationship even before meeting him. And coming to the style of this particular play, it encompasses the various style like romantic comedy, comedy of manners, farce, parody, etc. Let's see the basic features. Romantic comedy is an idealized in a romantic comedy, just like Shakespeare's Twelfth Night or Midsummer Night's Dream. We can see an idealized pair of lovers who the circumstances or social convention seem destined to keep apart. Towards the end, the lovers overcome the troubles and unite. It's very much evident in this particular play. And comedy of manners, basically, this genre set in sophisticated society, just like Oscar Wilde's Importance of Being Honest. And this type of intellectual comedy privileges witty dialogues over plot. That feature is also here. And comedy arises from the critique of the fashions, manners, and behaviors of the elevated society. While portraying characters like fools, fopes, servants, or jealous husbands, the action itself is largely realistic. Now, coming to the features of a farce. Farce is a low comedy, focuses on physical gags, coarse wits, and broad humor. Laughter arises on exaggerated characters, caricatures of social types, etc., extricate themselves from improbable situations. Farce may involve disguise or confusion of gender roles. Disguise is very evident in Importance of Being Honest. Algie's indulgence with food and short attention span makes him a farcical character. Now, coming to the parody, for comic or satiric effect, imitates another familiar, usually serious work or concept, mocking the recognizable trademarks of an individual author, style, or genre. That is what we usually see in parody. Parody assumes an informed audience with the knowledge of the parodied target. Here, Wilde parodies the concepts like love at first sight and so on, the sentimental love, things like that. And you can see the use of epigrams. He uses these epigrams to subvert the Victorian moral values. There are some examples. First one is, divorces are made in heaven, is a dialogue from this particular play. And this epigrammatic sentence pokes fun at the popular phrase, marriages are made in heaven. The subversion is very much visible. Next thing is, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. This is a dialogue. And this phrase mocks at the popular phrase, the pure and simple truth. And there is another dialogue, in marriage, three is company, two is none. And this particular phrase mocks at the original or popular phrase, two is company, three is a crowd. So Wilde adopts all these phrases to suit his own purpose, and of course he satirizes the Victorian moral codes and all. So there came so many criticisms, both positive and negative, on importance of being honest. The idea of burn burying, and so many critics found it to be the homosexual elements, the homosexual activities Oscar Wilde wanted to proclaim. So he underlines all such ideas behind this particular concept, burn burying. Such ideas are submerged in this concept, burn burying. And his idea of a dandy, Algernon Moncrief is modeled as a dandy figure. So that is also kind of a proclamation of his homosexual identity or act. Many critics have detailedly analyzed this particular concept. So in a nutshell, this is what all about importance of being honest. Thank you.